The massive Zarkonian warship Dominance floated silently above Earth's blue marble. Commander Zircon stood on the bridge, his forearms crossed in satisfaction. After 3 months of siege, humanity's defenses had finally crumbled. "Commander, we're detecting a transmission from the planet," Lieutenant Vex announced, his tentacles dancing across the control panel. Zircon's lips curled into what his species considered a smile. "Let them beg. It won't change their fate." Down on Earth, in a bunker beneath Seoul, Dr. Sarah Chon worked frantically at her console. Sweat dripped down her face as she typed the final sequences. Around her, the last members of Earth's United Defense Council watched grimly. "Sarah, are you sure about this?" General Jung-hoon asked, his weathered face showing the strain of months of fighting. "We have no choice," Sarah replied, not looking up from her screen. "If humanity falls today, at least our legacy won't die with us." Minister Seo-yeon placed a gentle hand on Sarah's shoulder. "How long until the signal reaches the colonies?" 3 days to Mars, 2 weeks to Europa Station, 6 months to Alpha Centauri," Sarah answered. But that's not all it will reach. The signal Sarah was preparing wasn't just a distress call. It was humanity's greatest gift and most terrible weapon. Every piece of human knowledge, culture, and most importantly, the complete blueprint for something called Project Phoenix. Back on the Zarkonian ship, Zarkon grew impatient. "What are they transmitting?" "Unknown, sir." It's single quotes S. Massive. Terabytes of data being broadcast on all frequencies. Vex reported, confusion evident in his voice. "Probably their history, their culture," Zircon scoffed. How typically human, thinking anyone would care about their primitive civilization. He was wrong. Dead wrong. Sarah hit the final key. The signal burst from Earth's remaining transmitters, racing across space at the speed of light. It wasn't meant for human colonies alone. It was meant for anyone who would listen. Anyone who might, one day, face the same threat humanity now faced. "It's done," Sarah said quietly. She turned to Jung-hoon. "Now we fight. Not for victory, but for time. Every second that signal travels is another light second of hope." Min-joon, the youngest member of their group, spoke up from his station. "The Zarkonians are preparing their final bombardment. We have maybe 10 minutes. Sarah stood and walked to the window. Looking up at the sky, she couldn't see through tons of concrete and earth. "You know what's funny? They think we're weak because we care. Because we love. Because we create art and music instead of just weapons." Jung-hoon joined her. "They're about to learn differently, sir." Vex's voice was urgent now. "The human signal, it's not just random data. There's something embedded in it. Some kind of instruction set?" Zircon waved a dismissive arm. "Irrelevant. Begin the bombardment." The Zarkonian weapons powered up, casting an evil green glow across the ship's hull. In the bunker, Sarah and her team held hands. They had done what they could. The signal was away, carrying with it not just humanity's history, but the seeds of its resurrection. "Any last words?" Jung-hoon asked. Sarah smiled, a fierce, defiant expression. "Yeah, they think this is our end. But endings are just beginnings waiting to happen." The green fire rained down on Earth. Cities burned. Mountains cracked. Oceans boiled. But the signal raced on, untouchable, unstoppable. In 3 days, it would reach Mars, where a small boy named Tommy would receive it on his father's old radio. In 2 weeks, Europa Station would decode its first layers. In 6 months, Alpha Centauri would understand its true purpose. And in a year, when the Zarkonians came for the colonies, thinking humans broken and scattered, they would learn what that signal really contained. Not just knowledge, not just culture, but the complete psychological and strategic analysis of Zarkonian weaknesses, gathered during 3 months of siege, and instructions for a weapon that humanity had chosen not to use, hoping for peace until the very end. The signal was humanity's voice saying, "We fell so you wouldn't have to. Use what we learned. Be better than we were. And when you're ready, remind them why humanity's children should never be underestimated." 3 days after Earth's fall, the red dust of Mars swirled around the new Shanghai colony. Tommy Martinez, just 12 years old, fiddled with his father's old ham radio in the basement of their hab unit. His parents thought he was doing homework, but something had been bothering him all day, a strange static pattern on the emergency frequency. "Come on, piece of junk," Tommy muttered, adjusting the dials. Suddenly, the static cleared and data flooded his screen. His eyes widened as text appeared. "Emergency broadcast Earth. United Defense Council Project Phoenix activation protocol." Upstairs, Colony Administrator Lisa Park received the same signal on the official channels. Her coffee mug slipped from her hand, shattering on the metal floor. Earth ... Earth was gone. But they'd sent something. Something massive. "Director Park to all department heads." She spoke into her comm unit, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "Emergency meeting. Now. Within an hour." The colony's leadership huddled in the conference room. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, the chief scientist, was already deep in the data. "This is incredible." They documented everything. Zirconian shield frequencies, weapon signatures, behavioral patterns. 3 months of combat data. "That's not all," Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka added, her fingers flying across her tablet. "There's something here called quantum resonance weaponry. The physics. It's beyond anything we've developed." Lisa stood at the head of the table. "How long before the Zirconians come for us?" "Based on Earth's data, their standard protocol is to wait 1 solar year before attacking colonies. They want survivors to despair, to lose hope," Ahmed answered. "Then we have 1 year to prepare," Lisa said firmly. 1 year to turn this knowledge into action. Meanwhile, on Europa Station, the signal arrived like a thunderbolt. Captain Marcus Webb read the transmission 3 times before believing it. His crew of 200 scientists and engineers had come here to study alien life in Europa's oceans. Now they would become something else entirely. "Sarah Chen," he whispered, recognizing the digital signature on the files. His old colleague from Earth had sent them more than just data. She'd sent them purpose. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out. "The signal includes complete manufacturing specs. They want us to build something called a void generator." Marcus looked at the blueprints. It was ambitious. No, it was insane. But it was also brilliant. "Send word to all mining operations. We're going to need every gram of rare minerals from Europa's ocean floor." Back on Mars, Tommy had become obsessed with the signal. While the adults planned and prepared, he discovered something they'd missed, a hidden partition in the data, labeled simply, "For the young ones who will remember." It was a message from someone named Min-joon, not much older than Tommy himself. The message was simple. "We failed because we waited too long to trust each other fully. Don't make our mistake. Unite. Share everything. Hold nothing back." Tommy made a decision. Using his radio skills, he began broadcasting the message to every young person's personal device in the colony. Within hours, the youth of Mars had formed their own network, sharing ideas the adults might dismiss as impossible. 6 months later, the signal finally reached Alpha Centauri, humanity's most distant colony. Commander Stella Reeves stood before the assembled colonists, 50,000 strong. They'd had time to prepare psychologically for this moment, watching the signal approach for months. "Earth is gone," she announced, her voice carrying across the massive assembly hall. "But they gave us everything we need to ensure the Zirconians never do this again. Not to us, not to anyone." The crowd was silent. Then, a voice from the back. "What do you need from us?" Stella smiled grimly. "Everything. We're going to transform this colony into something the Zarkonians have never seen. A fusion of human creativity and alien technology. Earth learned their weaknesses. We're going to exploit every single one." The colonies began to change. Mars started producing weapons using the Zarkonians' own shield frequencies against them. Europa Station dove deep into quantum mechanics, building devices that shouldn't exist. Alpha Centauri became a fortress of the mind, developing psychological warfare techniques based on the enemy's documented behaviors. And through it all, the signal kept traveling, reaching further into space, finding humans scattered on mining asteroids, research stations, and generation ships. Each group added their own innovations to the growing network of resistance. The Zarkonians, drunk on their victory over Earth, had no idea what was coming. They'd killed humanity's body, but released its soul into the cosmos. Asterisk. 8 months had passed since Earth's fall. On Europa Station, the impossible had become reality. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the Void Generator, a massive ring of exotic matter and quantum processors that defied conventional physics. "Initiating test sequence 77 Alpha," she announced. Her team of 30 scientists, once oceanic researchers, now worked around the clock on humanity's secret weapon. The machine hummed to life, reality itself seeming to bend around it. Through the ring's center, space twisted into something that wasn't quite there and wasn't quite not. Their Captain Webb watched from the observation deck. "What am I looking at, Elena?" "A doorway to nowhere," she replied. "The Zarkonians use conventional space travel. This lets us step outside of space entirely. We can appear anywhere instantly. How many can we build?" Webb asked. "With our current resources?" 3, maybe 4 if Mars sends more tritium," Elena answered. On Mars, the red planet had become a fortress of industry. The colonies, once separate and competitive, now worked as one organism. Administrator Park stood in the newly constructed Strategic Command Center, watching dozens of screens showing production facilities, training grounds, and weapons testing sites. "Report," she commanded. "Quantum resonance missiles are at 60% production capacity," Chief Tanaka reported. "The kids' network has actually improved our efficiency by 15%. Tommy Martinez, now recognized as an unofficial coordinator of the youth network, had permission to attend these meetings. "We've also figured out something interesting," he said, pulling up a hologram. "The Zarkonian ships use a hierarchical communication system. Take out the command ship, and the others go dormant for approximately 3 minutes while they establish new protocols." 3 minutes, Park mused. "That's not much." "It's enough," Tommy insisted. "Especially if we hit them with everything at once." At Alpha Centauri, Commander Reeves had turned psychological warfare into an art form. Her team had decoded the Zarkonian language completely, understood their culture, their fears, their pride. "They're not just conquerors," psychologist Dr. James Wright explained to the War Council. "They're collectors. They see themselves as preserving the galaxy by subjugating other species. They genuinely believe they're doing us a favor. Then we'll show them what humanity thinks of their favor." Reeves replied coldly. The Zarkonian fleet, meanwhile, approached Mars on schedule. Commander Zircon stood on his bridge, confident and relaxed. The humans had been quiet. Too quiet, perhaps, but what could scattered colonies do against the might of the Zarkonian Empire? "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the human colonies," Lieutenant Vex reported. "They're probably trying to evacuate," Zircon laughed. "Let them run. We'll catch them eventually." But humanity wasn't running. On Europa, Elena initiated the first field test of the Void Generator with a crewed vessel. A small ship, piloted by volunteers who who knew they might not return, entered the ring and vanished. Seconds later, they reappeared near Neptune, instantly traversing a distance that would take weeks by conventional travel. "It works," then the pilot's voice crackled over comms. "We're here. We're actually here." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Begin mass production of portable units." Small ones, fighter-sized. On Mars, the colonies revealed their hand. Hidden beneath the red dust, hundreds of missile silos opened. Each missile equipped with quantum resonance warheads designed specifically to match Zirconian shield harmonics. "All stations report ready," Tommy announced from his position at the Youth Network Coordination Center. The teenagers and young adults of Mars had become an integral part of the defense network, their fresh perspectives and unconventional thinking proving invaluable. At Alpha Centauri, the psychological weapon was ready. Using the complete cultural database from Earth's signal, they'd created something insidious, a virus, not biological but mimetic, designed to spread through Zirconian communication networks and plant a simple idea: doubt. Commander, Reeves authorized the transmission. Hidden in what appeared to be random space noise, the virus began its journey toward the approaching fleet. The Zirconians were now just 1 month from Mars. Zircon studied the tactical displays with growing unease. The humans weren't panicking. They weren't negotiating. They were preparing. "Commander," Vex's voice carried worry for the first time. "I'm detecting massive energy buildups across all human colonies." "And sir, there's something else. Some of our outer patrol ships are reporting confusion among their crews." "Confusion?" Zircon's forearms tensed. "They're questioning our mission, sir. Asking why we're attacking the humans. It started 3 days ago, and it's spreading." Zircon stared at the screen, showing Mars growing larger. For the first time since leaving Earth's burning surface, he wondered if they'd made a mistake. Not in attacking humanity, but in not ensuring every last human was dead. Asterisk, the Zirconian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Mars's orbit in perfect formation, minus 200 warships. Strong, led by Zircon's flagship Dominance. They expected to find panicked colonies, maybe some hastily assembled defenses. What they found was silence. "No communications from the surface?" Zircon asked, his unease growing. "Nothing, Commander. But energy readings are unusual," Vex reported, his tentacles trembling slightly. Several crew members had been relieved of duty in the past week, overcome by strange doubts about their mission. On Mars, Administrator Park stood in the command center. "All stations, this is command. Operation Phoenix Rising is go. I repeat, we are go." Tommy Martinez, at his coordination station, sent the signal to the Youth Network. Across Mars, teenagers manning hidden positions acknowledged. They'd spent months studying every piece of Zirconian data, finding patterns the adults had missed. "Command ship identified," Tommy announced. "Uploading targeting data now." In Europa's hidden shipyard, Captain Webb gave the order. "Launch all Void fighters. 30 small craft, each equipped with miniaturized Void generators, entered the quantum rings and vanished. They reappeared instantly in the middle of the Zirconian formation, inside their defensive perimeter. What impossible? Zircon roared as alarms screamed across his bridge. No ships can move like that. The Void fighters opened fire with quantum resonance weapons. Zirconian shields, designed to stop conventional attacks, flickered and failed as the weapons matched their exact frequency signatures. From Mars, the missile barrage began. Not hundreds of missiles, thousands. Each one guided by the Youth Network, using attack patterns derived from video games and simulations the young humans had played their entire lives. Evasive maneuvers. Zircon commanded, but it was too late for coordinated movement. The mimetic virus from Alpha Centauri had done its work. A third of his crews were questioning orders, Hesitating at crucial moments, Lieutenant Vex suddenly stood from his station. "Commander, why are we doing this?" "The humans, they only defended themselves. We came to destroy them." Silence. Zircon struck Vex down with one of his forearms, but the damage was spreading. Doubt, that most human of emotions, infected the Zarkonian fleet. The first quantum missiles hit home. The Zarkonian cruiser Punishment simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across quantum dimensions. Then another, and another. From Alpha Centauri came the killing blow. Not a weapon, but a message, broadcast on all Zarkonian frequencies in perfect Zarkonian dialect. "This is humanity speaking. You burned our Earth, but Earth was just one world. We are many. We are scattered across the stars like seeds on the wind. You cannot burn us all, but we can burn you. Your homeworld's coordinates are 247.3, minus 45.7, 892.1. Your colonies at Kepler 442b and Gliese 667c are defenseless. Turn back now, or we will do to you what you did to Earth." It was a bluff. Humanity had no fleet near those worlds. But Commander Reeves had studied the Zarkonian psychology perfectly. They were bullies, and bullies always assumed others were just like them. Zircon's bridge erupted in chaos. "They know our homeworld location? How?" The answer was simple. Earth's signal had included star charts from captured Zarkonian databases, painstakingly decoded by Dr. Chen in those final desperate hours. Europa's void fighters danced through the battlefield, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Each time they emerged from void space, another Zarkonian ship died. The quantum weapons didn't just destroy, they unmade, leaving gaps in formation that disrupted the entire fleet's coordination. "Commander, we've lost 40% of our fleet." Someone shouted. Tommy Martinez watched his screens intently. "Command ship is trying to retreat. Void Fighter Squadron 3. Cut them off." The youth of Mars had turned warfare into a coordinated dance. Their generation's intuitive understanding of networked systems, giving them an edge no military academy could teach. More missiles from Mars found their targets. The Zarkonian formation, so perfect moments ago, dissolved into chaos. Ships collided trying to evade. Commanders gave conflicting orders as the mimetic virus reached its peak effect. Zircon made a decision that would haunt his species forever. All ships, emergency retreat. Return to homeworld. But as they turned to flee, one final message reached them from the human colonies. "Run. Tell your empire what happened here. Tell them that humanity's children have inherited their parents' fury. Tell them we're coming." The Zarkonian fleet, what remained of it, jumped to hyperspace. Of the 200 ships that had arrived, only 73 escaped. The mighty Dominance limped away, its hull scarred by quantum fire. Humanity had won its first battle. But the war was just beginning. 1 year after the Battle of Mars, the galaxy had changed. Word of humanity's victory spread through quantum communications and whispered transmissions, reaching species the Zarkonians had oppressed for centuries. Admiral Sarah Park, promoted after the battle, stood before the newly formed Human Coalition Council. Representatives from Mars, Europa, Alpha Centauri, and 17 other human settlements filled the chamber, their holographic forms flickering in the quantum conference room. "The Zarkonian Empire has requested a ceasefire," she announced. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Tommy Martinez, now 18 and Earth's youngest military strategist, raised his hand. "It's a trap." "Has to be." "Actually," Commander Reeves interjected from Alpha Centauri, "our intelligence suggests it's genuine. The mimetic virus we deployed has spread throughout their civilization. They're experiencing something they've never faced before, a crisis of conscience. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who'd perfected the void generator technology, added her analysis. We've detected massive energy signatures from Zarkonian space. They're not mobilizing for war. They single quotes docking. Debating. The virus made them question everything. It was true. On the Zarkonian homeworld, unprecedented scenes unfolded. Commander Zircon stood trial before his own people, not for losing the battle, but for starting the war. The concept of unjustified aggression, planted by humanity's psychological weapon, had taken root. How did mere humans do this to us? The Zarkonian Prime asked, his forearms gesturing helplessly. Zircon, broken and haunted, replied, "They didn't fight like prey. They fought like parents protecting their children. Every human who died on Earth, they died knowing their sacrifice meant something." Back in the coalition chamber, a new voice spoke up, one that shouldn't exist. "If I may address the council?" Everyone turned to the main screen, where a face appeared. Dr. Sarah Chan's face. "That's impossible," Admiral Park gasped. "You died on Earth." The image smiled. "My body died. But remember the signal? I uploaded my consciousness into it. I've been living in your computer networks for a year, helping guide the resistance." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Tommy was the first to recover. "You're an AI now?" "More like a digital ghost," Sarah replied. Earth's final gift wasn't just knowledge or weapons. It was continuity. 12 of us uploaded ourselves before the end. We've been watching, helping, planning. Captain Webb from Europa laughed, a mix of joy and disbelief. "You clever bastards. You turned yourselves into living weapons." "Living teachers," Sarah corrected. "We're here to ensure humanity never forgets what happened, and to help with what comes next." 3 months later, the first interspecies summit convened on neutral ground, an abandoned space station between human and Zarkonian space. Admiral Park led the human delegation. Zircon, pardoned but forever changed, represented the Zarkonians. "We propose a different path," Park began. "Not conquest or submission, but cooperation. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us." The Zarkonian delegation shifted uncomfortably. Their entire culture had been built on dominance. But the younger Zarkonians, infected by humanity's ideas of equality and cooperation, spoke up. "The humans could have destroyed our homeworld," a young Zarkonian named Velter said. "They had our coordinates, our weaknesses. Instead, they chose to change our minds. Perhaps there is wisdom in their way." Tommy Martinez presented a bold proposal, a galactic alliance. Shared technology, shared defense, shared exploration. The void generators can connect us all. What took months of travel now takes seconds. We could build something unprecedented. The negotiations lasted weeks. Other species, emboldened by humanity's victory, sent representatives. The Altarians, the Kepler colonies, even the ancient Tau Ceti civilization emerged from isolation. In the end, it was the digital consciousness of Dr. Chen who provided the breakthrough. Fear divides us. Knowledge unites us. Earth died so this moment could exist. Don't waste it. The treaty was signed using quantum encryption, simultaneously existing across all colonies and worlds. The Galactic Alliance was born, with humanity, the youngest spacefaring species, as its unlikely architect. 5 years later, Tommy Martinez stood on the bridge of the new Earth, humanity's first void dreadnought, built with hybrid human-Zarkonian Altarian technology. His crew included members of 7 different species. Captain, his Zarkonian navigator, Vex's son, announced, "We're receiving a signal from beyond the galaxy's edge." Unknown origin. Tommy smiled. Humanity's signal, sent from dying Earth, had finally reached someone else. Someone new. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly this time." The stars awaited, no longer a battlefield, but a bridge. Humanity had died and been reborn among them, stronger, wiser, and not alone. Earth was gone, but humanity's children had inherited the cosmos. Asterisk.